Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Blue and Gold Illustrated Anniversaries. I'm reporter Andrew Owens here with senior editor Lou Emoji. And this week we're going to take you back 10 years to November 6th, 2004 when Notre Dame went to Tennessee in its last game at an SEC stadium. Beat Tennessee 17-13 in a game that got interesting in the second half, and Mike Goolsby sealed it with that pick six of Rick Clausen. Lou, what do you remember about that game?
One of the oddest seasons that you had at Notre Dame. It was Tyrone Willingham's third season. They opened with a loss at BYU, and BYU was thought to be maybe the warm-up opponent for top 10 ranked Michigan the next week. So you lose to BYU, then you become the big underdog at home against Michigan, and then you beat Michigan and lose 41-16 to Purdue, and it's such an up and down season. You lose to Boston College the week before the Tennessee game, and all of a sudden you hear rumblings about, well, Willingham might not stay or anything like that, and then you go into number 9 ranked Tennessee, and for the second time that year you beat a top 10 ranked team. And I think Notre Dame improved to 6-3, but there was a very bad sign to me from that game. The next week in the Notre Dame bookstore, T-shirts started to be sold for another top victory against a top 10 team like that. And I just thought to myself, I grew up in the 1970s. The only time you ever sold T-shirts was after a national title like that. And it's like, boy, now top 10 victories are becoming golden and everything else like that. But at that time, Notre Dame was 6-3. You had Pitt coming in, and there was the feeling, okay, they got it turned around. And this is where you got to be careful sometimes. You have that great performance like Notre Dame did against Florida State, even though it ended up on the column. Can you sustain it? Can you handle success? And I think you saw that too with that Tennessee game. You were young enough to remember that.
Yeah, and like you said, they came home for senior day against Pitt. It's like, oh, they're Gator Bowl hopes and everything, and then that's one of the worst tackling performances I can remember. That I think it was 41-38 they lost to Pitt, and Tyler Palko threw all those touchdowns, and just a messy performance. And then of course they go to USC to finish the year and lost the third of 3 straight 31-point losses.
Right, and at the end of the season and at the end of the month, Tyrone Willingham was fired, and now he's deciding among the people there for the college playoff there. So talk about your irony as to how things can work out. Another one from that Tennessee game. Last play of the first half, the starting quarterback for Eric Ainge, because the other starter was injured. Eric Ainge was injured by Brandon Hoyt. And so the substitute was Rick Clausen, younger or older brother of Jimmy Clausen, and younger brother of Casey Clausen, who had already beaten Notre Dame earlier in his career. So the Clausen family ties there kind of played a role in there too. But Mike Goolsby picked off an interception there, returned it for a touchdown, was named the National Defensive Player of the Week for his performance there at 14 tackles, I think a sack or 2, broke a pass, and returned the interception for a touchdown. So memorable last hurrah there for that season.
Seems to be a much more stable program now when you see them beat a quality opponent. But that does it for us this week here at Blue and Gold Illustrated. We'll be back next week with another editions of Anniversaries.